The quiet murmur of the Atlantic against the shores of Palm Beach blended seamlessly with the low hum of golf carts navigating the manicured greens of Mar-a-Lago. It was a typical Saturday morning for the Trump family, a time for relaxation amidst the constant whirlwind of political chaos. Kai Trump, the eldest grandchild of the sitting U.S. president, stood on the 8th tee, her gloved hands gripping the shaft of her driver. At just 17, she had already made a name for herself in the junior golf circuit, her drives precise, her short game sharp, and her focus unbreakable. As she lined up her shot, her thoughts drifted to the whispers that had recently reached her ears. Whispers that had the power to shatter the polished veneer of her family's carefully curated public image. The words echoed in her mind, "Vanessa and Tiger, did you hear?" The mere mention of her mother, Vanessa Hayden, and the legendary golfer, Tiger Woods, in the same breath had struck her like an unexpected sand trap. The source of the rumor was a fellow competitor, the daughter of a New York socialite, who had leaned in during a post-tournament dinner, eyes gleaming with the thrill of gossip. "You know, Kai, my mom said your mother was quite close to Tiger back in the day, before the scandal hit." Kai had forced a tight smile, brushing it off with the practiced indifference that came naturally to the Trump family. But the words lingered, seeping into her mind during quiet moments like this one. She inhaled deeply, forcing her mind back to the task at hand. She visualized the fairway ahead, the crisp crack of the ball against the face of her driver. With a graceful, fluid motion, she unleashed a powerful swing, sending the ball soaring into the blue Florida sky. As the ball cut through the air, Kai felt a pang of unease. What if the whispers were more than just idle chatter? What if there was a sliver of truth buried beneath the layers of hearsay? After finishing the 18th hole, Kai retreated to the clubhouse, her mind still wrestling with the fragments of a puzzle she hadn't even known existed. She pushed open the heavy wooden doors, the cool, air-conditioned air washing over her as she stepped inside. She made her way to a secluded corner of the lounge where the walls were adorned with framed photographs of her grandfather's most celebrated moments, handshakes with world leaders, ribbon-cutting ceremonies, and, of course, countless shots from Mar-a-Lago's lush fairways. As she settled into a leather armchair, Kai's phone buzzed with a new message. It was from her best friend, Emma, a fellow golfer and confidant. The message was simple but heavy with implication. "Have you seen the latest post on Golf Digest's gossip column?" Kai's pulse quickened. She clicked the link Emma had sent, and her eyes scanned the headline, "Rumors Resurface, Vanessa Trump's Past Ties to Tiger Woods, A Forgotten Chapter?" Kai's fingers tightened around her phone as she read on, her heart pounding with each line. The article hinted at a series of alleged encounters between her mother and the golf legend, painting a picture of clandestine meetings and whispered conversations. It was the kind of scandalous fodder that tabloids thrived on, but for Kai, it felt like a direct strike to the core of her family's carefully guarded privacy. As she read the final line, a fierce determination ignited within her. If there was one thing the Trumps were known for, it was their unyielding loyalty to family. Kai resolved to get to the bottom of this mystery, not just for her mother, but for herself. She wouldn't let a shadow from the past taint the future she was building, both on the fairways and beyond. But first, she needed answers. Kai's mind raced as she closed the article, her fingers trembling slightly. She felt a mix of anger and confusion, her emotions swirling like the wind on an unpredictable course. Vanessa Trump, her mother, had always been a picture of grace under pressure, a former model who had gracefully transitioned into the high-profile life of a Trump. She had been a supportive mother and a calm presence amid the storm of political and personal controversies that constantly swirled around the family. Yet, this whisper of a past connection with Tiger Woods was something Kai had never imagined. She needed to understand if this was just another tabloid fabrication or if there was something real behind the rumor. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over Mar-a-Lago's palm-lined walkways, Kai made her way to the private wing of the estate. She found her mother in the solarium, a sunlit room filled with lush tropical plants and family photos. Vanessa sat by the window, a cup of herbal tea in her hand, her gaze distant as if her thoughts were 1,000 miles away. Kai hesitated for a moment, the words catching in her throat. But she knew she had to ask. She stepped forward, her golf shoes clicking softly against the polished marble floor. "Mom?" Kai's voice was soft but steady. Vanessa looked up, her eyes focusing on her daughter with a warm, welcoming smile. "Hey, sweetheart. How was your game today?" she asked, her tone light, the tension in the room invisible to the untrained eye. Kai forced a small smile, sitting down on the edge of the wicker chair opposite her mother. She fiddled with the edge of her golf glove, trying to find the right words. It was good, Kai replied, her eyes locking on to her mother's. But, something came up today. I saw this thing online. About you and Tiger Woods. For a brief, flickering moment, a shadow crossed Vanessa's face, her smile faltering. She set her teacup down with a soft clink, her fingers tightening around the delicate porcelain. Oh, Vanessa said, her voice carefully controlled. I see the rumor mill is at it again. Kai felt a chill run down her spine. Her mother's reaction was subtle but unmistakable. She had seen Vanessa deflect countless intrusive questions from the media over the years. But this felt different. This felt personal. Is it true, Mom? Kai pressed gently, leaning forward. Were you close to him? Vanessa leaned back, her gaze drifting to the sprawling gardens outside the window. She took a deep breath, her chest rising and falling slowly, as if she were choosing her words with the precision of a seasoned diplomat. Kai, she began, her voice tinged with a hint of nostalgia. There was a time, before you and your brothers and sisters, before your father and I built the life we have now, when I moved in very different circles. I met a lot of people, famous people, powerful people. Tiger was one of them. Kai felt her heart quicken, her fingers gripping the edge of her chair. So, you did know him? Vanessa's lips tightened into a thin line, her eyes still fixed on the lush greens beyond the glass. Yes, I knew him. We crossed paths at events, fundraisers, and yes, on the golf course. He was charming, driven, and incredibly talented. A long silence stretched between them, the distant sound of waves crashing against the shore the only backdrop to their unspoken tension. But that's all it was, right? Kai pressed, her voice dropping to a whisper. Just casual meetings? Vanessa's eyes finally met Kai's, a flicker of something regret, perhaps sparking in their depths. It was complicated, Kai. More complicated than I can explain in a single conversation. Kai felt a lump form in her throat, the weight of her mother's words sinking in. She had hoped for a quick dismissal, a denial that would put her mind at ease. Instead, she had found only more questions. Maybe someday, when you're ready, I'll tell you the whole story, Vanessa added, her voice heavy with meaning. But for now, just know that whatever happened back then, it has no bearing on who we are today. Our family is strong. We've weathered worse. As Kai rose to leave, her mind churned with uncertainty. She had expected to find clarity, but instead, she had uncovered a layer of mystery she hadn't even known existed. Whatever her mother's connection to Tiger Woods had been, it was clearly more than a fleeting acquaintance. Kai stepped back into the cool night air, her mind awash with questions that only seemed to multiply with each passing moment. She had uncovered the first thread of a deeply woven story, but the full truth remained just out of reach for now. Kai couldn't shake the conversation with her mother from her mind. Vanessa's words had been carefully measured, her tone diplomatic, yet there was an undeniable hint of something deeper, a secret from the past that had never fully surfaced. Determined to dig deeper, Kai retreated to her room that night, her mind racing as she searched for clues. She opened her laptop, the screen's soft glow illuminating the darkened room. She typed Vanessa Hayden and Tiger Woods into the search bar, her heart pounding as she hit enter. Countless articles, old interviews, and grainy photos filled the screen. Some were clearly exaggerated tabloid fodder, but others carried a weight of plausibility. She found images of her mother and Tiger at charity golf events, award shows, and exclusive parties in the early 2000s, long before her parents had married. They often stood just a few feet apart, smiling at the cameras, their body language friendly, maybe even a bit too familiar. As she scrolled through the archives, one particular image caught her eye. It was a candid shot from 2004 taken at a charity gala in New York City. In the photo, Vanessa stood beside Tiger, her hand resting lightly on his forearm, both of them laughing at some unseen joke. There was an undeniable chemistry captured in that frozen moment, a connection that went beyond casual acquaintance. Kai leaned back in her chair, exhaling slowly. This wasn't just a case of casual encounters. There had clearly been a deeper connection. She clicked on the photo, pulling up the full article. It was an old gossip piece written before Tiger's infamous fall from grace. The article hinted at a potential romance, describing them as two beautiful, high-profile singles moving in the same circles. A sudden thought struck her. If there was any truth to this, there might be physical evidence, letters, gifts, or even old messages. Her mother had always been a sentimental person, often tucking away old photos, cards, and memorabilia in hidden corners of the house. Determined to find more, Kai closed her laptop and crept quietly down the hallway. She moved toward her mother's private study, a room Vanessa had always kept meticulously organized, its walls lined with bookshelves and glass cabinets filled with framed family photos. Kai hesitated for a moment at the door, her hand resting on the polished brass handle. She knew this was a breach of trust, but she also felt a deep, unshakable need to know the truth. She pushed the door open slowly, the faint scent of vanilla and old paper drifting into the hallway. Stepping inside, Kai's eyes scanned the room. She crossed to the large oak desk in the center, its surface neatly arranged with a few framed pictures, a leather-bound planner, and a small, silver lockbox. She crouched down, sliding open one of the lower drawers. Inside, she found a stack of old photo albums, their leather covers worn with age. She pulled one out and flipped it open, her breath catching as she saw the first page, a photo of her mother, years younger, her hair long and flowing, standing on a golf course with Tiger Woods, their arms draped around each other's shoulders. As she turned the pages, Kai's heart sank. There were more photos, candid shots of her mother and Tiger at various events, their smiles wide, their bodies always angled toward each other, the unmistakable signs of a close bond. But it wasn't just the photos that caught her attention. Tucked between the pages were a few handwritten notes, folded and yellowing with age. Kai carefully unfolded one, her eyes scanning the neat, slanted handwriting. Vanessa, you've always believed in me even when I doubted myself. I hope I can make you proud both on and off the course. You're a true friend and maybe one day even more. Tiger. Kai's hands trembled as she read the note. This wasn't just a friendly connection, it was the echo of something deeper, perhaps even a budding romance that had never fully blossomed. She leaned back, the weight of her discovery pressing down on her like a heavy fog. This wasn't just a passing connection, it was a potential scandal, a buried chapter of her mother's life that could unravel everything their family had built. As she tucked the letter back into the album and closed the drawer, Kai felt a new resolve harden in her chest. She had stumbled upon a secret that could redefine her understanding of her mother and possibly shake the foundations of her family's carefully constructed public image. Whatever this was, it was far from over. You went through my things? She asked, her voice low, tinged with a hint of betrayal. Kai felt a pang of guilt, but she pushed it aside, determined to press on. I had to know. I needed to understand what this was, what you're hiding. For a long moment, the only sound in the room was the distant crash of waves against the rocky shore. Then Vanessa leaned back in her chair, her shoulders relaxing slightly as if she had just made a difficult decision. All right, she said, her voice steady, her eyes sharp. I owe you the truth. Kai felt her heart quicken, her hands tightening around her glass. She had prepared herself for a denial, a quick dismissal, but this was unexpected. Tiger and I met long before your father and I started dating, Vanessa began, her voice carrying a hint of nostalgia. It was a different time, a different world. I was young, ambitious, and constantly surrounded by the kind of people most only see on TV. Tiger was one of those people, a rising star, full of charm and promise. We clicked immediately. There was a connection, something genuine. Kai's breath hitched, her mind racing to process the implications. This wasn't just a fleeting romance, this was something deeper, something that had clearly left a lasting impact on her mother. But it wasn't meant to be, Vanessa continued, her eyes drifting to the horizon visible through the floor-to-ceiling windows. We came from different worlds, and as his fame grew, so did the pressures around him. There were rumors, whispers, distractions, and eventually we drifted apart. I met your father, and Tiger went on to become the global icon he is today. Kai felt a mixture of relief and lingering unease. Her mother's tone was honest, but there was still a shadow, a sense of unfinished business that lingered in her words. Why didn't you ever tell me? Kai asked, her voice a mixture of accusation and hurt. Why keep this part of your life a secret? Vanessa's gaze softened, her eyes shimmering with unspoken memories. Because some chapters are better left closed, Kai. We all have our secrets, our regrets. But I never wanted my past to define your present. I've tried to protect you from the mistakes I made, to give you a clean slate. Kai felt the tension drain from her shoulders, a strange, bittersweet understanding settling in her chest. She had uncovered the truth, but with it came the realization that her mother's past was a complex, deeply personal story, one that couldn't be easily defined by a few photos or handwritten notes. As she rose from the table, Vanessa reached out, her hand resting gently on Kai's. Don't let this change how you see me, sweetheart. I'm still the same person, the same mother I've always been. Kai met her mother's gaze, the unspoken bond between them stronger than ever. I know, Mom. I just needed to hear it from you. As she walked back to her room, Kai felt a strange sense of closure. She had uncovered the truth, peeled back the layers of her mother's hidden past, and in doing so had discovered a new understanding of the woman who had always been her rock. As the days passed, Kai found herself reflecting on the revelations her mother had shared. She felt a strange mixture of relief and confusion, like a puzzle that had been partially solved but still held a few missing pieces. She had uncovered the truth about Vanessa and Tiger's past, but she couldn't shake the feeling that there was still more to the story. One evening, as the sun dipped below the Atlantic horizon, casting a warm, golden glow across the Mar-a-Lago estate, Kai decided to confront the final piece of this puzzle, her grandfather, President Donald Trump. She found him in his private study, a grand room lined with rich mahogany bookshelves and leather-bound volumes. The faint aroma of expensive cigars lingered in the air, a testament to the countless hours he spent here, strategizing and reflecting. Donald looked up as Kai stepped into the room, a broad smile breaking across his face. Kai, my favorite golfer. Come in, come in. Kai smiled, her grandfather's infectious energy cutting through the tension she felt. She closed the heavy wooden door behind her and took a seat in one of the plush leather armchairs. Grandpa, can I ask you something? She began, her voice steady but tinged with nerves. Donald leaned back, folding his hands over his chest, his bright blue eyes twinkling with curiosity. Of course, sweetheart. What's on your mind? Kai hesitated, choosing her words carefully. Did you know about Mom and Tiger? About their past? For a brief moment, Donald's eyes narrowed, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. But then he chuckled, leaning forward with a grin. Ah, I see you've been doing a bit of detective work. I always knew you had the Trump spirit, never backing down until you get to the truth. Kai felt her cheeks flush, a mixture of pride and embarrassment. So, you knew? Donald's smile faded slightly, his gaze growing more serious. I knew, yes. Your mother told me years ago, long before you were born. She and Tiger had a brief connection, but it never turned into anything serious. It was just two young people caught up in the whirlwind of their rising careers. Kai leaned back, absorbing her grandfather's words. She had expected a more dramatic revelation, perhaps even a hint of scandal, but instead she found only a reminder of how small the world of the rich and powerful truly was. Why didn't you ever say anything? She pressed, her tone a mixture of curiosity and frustration. Donald chuckled again, this time a deep, rumbling laugh. Because, my dear, in this world there are 1,000 stories for every headline, and most of them are better left untold. Your mother made her choice, and she chose your father, a man I respect and admire. The past is the past, and dwelling on it only distracts from the future. Kai felt a wave of relief wash over her, the last remnants of her anxiety melting away. She realized now that her mother's past, while intriguing, had no bearing on the family they had built, the legacy they were creating together. As she rose to leave, her grandfather reached out, his large, calloused hand resting gently on her shoulder. You're a smart girl, Kai. Don't let the whispers of the past overshadow the bright future ahead of you. You've got greatness in you, just like your mother. Kai smiled, her heart swelling with a renewed sense of pride and purpose. She had uncovered the truth, faced the shadows of her family's past, and come out stronger on the other side. As she stepped back into the cool evening air, the distant sound of the ocean whispering in her ears, Kai felt a newfound confidence. She was a Trump, strong, resilient, and unafraid to confront the truth, no matter how complicated it might be. And as she made her way back to her room, the future suddenly seemed a lot clearer, her path as bright as the setting sun over the Florida coast.